Hello. There is nothing here that has returned to any sense of normalcy. How about there where you are? I'm not feeling it. I have still been feeling pretty rotten, only maybe not quite so consistently so. I've been feeling down and depressed emotionally and even in my physical energy. And so, who knows what we're going through, my friends? Who knows? I was speaking of variable states. I'm still there. And, you know, I don't look to things settling down anytime soon. Um, I think we've got some eclipses coming up, 3 of them in the next short while. So that's always interesting. Um, the outside reflects the inside. And that's why we can say that um, astronomically or astrologically, things would have some importance. It's not that the outside causes anything. That's a misunderstanding or a misperception or just a limited understanding, I think. It's that the outside is reflecting what's inside of us. So that requires that we take a step up in consciousness to look at it that way. And it's neat. I highly suggest or recommend that we do that. Uh, Sometimes the biggest thing is just putting one foot in front of another. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Uh, let's see, this is the 23rd, I think. I'm not so good with those kind of things. Yeah. And yesterday was an interesting day for me. It started at the very beginning of the day with certain rejections, and it was really interesting watching that energy and watching the response to it here, um, which was very surprising. We don't know until we get in a situation how we will act or react. And so, if you like, it's always a learning experience. And it's a really beautiful opportunity to get to know the self better. In this case, I'm calling the self the combination of the soul spirit with the body mind, because we often don't know where a reaction is coming from or an action. There's a lot of, we're not in our fully awakened DNA reconnected state at this point. And so there's a tremendous preciousness to simply watch and observe. It's powerful. It's really powerful. And I find it an effective mechanism for connection to higher self, to perch as a bird in the heart and simply watch and observe. And you're watching and observing with eyes of love. You're in heart. You're in the magical kingdom. Screw Disneyland. You know, he had some brilliant ideas and so on, but the 3D mind can't even touch this space, place. There's not a word for it. I just call it heart. You know, that's just a convenient label to tack onto it. It's not that. So, getting to know self is really precious. Remember, you're this divinity, right? Don't we all have an inkling or a sneaking suspicion anyway that we are of divine origin? Or that we have that in us or accessible to us? So, going home, capital H, home in consciousness, involves a lot of putting one foot in front of another and just watching and observing. We've got to slog through the difficult stuff, but my friends, the difficult stuff is really the biggest gift. Can you see that? If it's all sunshine and lollipops, how are you ever going to get to know yourself? How are you ever going to see yourself in awkward or difficult situations? How are you ever going to come upon those unexpected responses? How are you going to grow? Okay? I think one analogy that works for the earth, and it's only one, is that it's a schoolroom. That's okay. It's limited, but it's at least positive, unless you have really bad memories of school. It'll be more positive, perhaps, for the older ones among us. Okay. I was just listening to a bit of Adyashanti, Adya, A-D-Y-A, before I turned the camera on. And it came to me to share this with you. If you want to get to know yourself, listen to a teacher. Find a good one first, by all means. Don't just listen to anyone and think they are worthy of being your teacher. Where you are on the path, what higher self is working on, what you as a soul are working on, will have everything to do with who or what is the best teacher for you at the moment. It might be a bird or a pet or, I'm not saying it's a person speaking into a video cam. All right. It's whatever it is. Honor yourself. Honor your own individuality and the unique voice that you are. Not that you have, that you are. You are that. Keep owning and claiming. Let's all keep owning and claiming our inner divinity. There's enough arrayed against it. There's enough arrayed out there to try to smash us and keep us down and thinking we're small and worthless and helpless and we need rescuing and help and we can't fix anything and we're responsible for everything that's terrible and nothing that's good, yada, 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 yada. All right? That's a voice we can ignore. And we can ignore it out of existence. For those of you having trouble with the mind or having a troublesome mind that just goes chatter, 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 like the little mouse in the treadwheel. Treadwheel? You know what I mean, in the cage. I have a journal. You can search on my journals for the one, Open Letter to Mind. The language is a little rough, but it will help shake you up and shake you out of the passenger seat of your life. And you need to get mind out of the driver's seat. No one can do that for you, but that journal can certainly help. It applies a shock, as Gurdjieff used to say, the appropriate application of a shock. So, if you want to get to know the self, choose a teacher. I think Adya would be a good one. I'm of two minds about him. He has a lot to offer, and wisdom flows through his lips. And yet I don't really find him in heart. And so this is why I am of two minds. But I am unconcerned and I am fearless. You will find yourself completely fearless in heart. You won't be worrying anymore about things harming you. You do your best to find a teacher. Some like Eckhart Tolle, some don't. Find someone that you would at least like to listen to. Mooji is a good one. he might or might not be the best for what I'm suggesting here, because what you will find is that as you listen to the teacher, you will be getting to know yourself. Perch as the bird within heart, or the bright sun, or the smile, whatever, use your own tricks. Tricks are okay, whatever works is okay. My blackbird out there agrees. Red-winged blackbird, they're beautiful. The red on their wings is so red. And their black is so black. It's a lovely contrast. Okay, so as you listen from heart to the teacher, your inner tutoring will commence. If you're quiet enough, and you just listen and you just watch, and you will learn. It's not that you're trying to take in every word of the teacher and this is holiness and goodness, and it's not that you're trying to put it on yourself as a band-aid to heal your soul or to raise your consciousness. It's not like that. We don't want to look up too much to anything outside of the self. In order to claim our own divinity, we have to stand within it. And what will be shocking, or what has been shocking for me as I've been doing this, is to find out in surprising ways how many and the different and various ones I have looked up to. See, one of the ones that issued a rejection to me was someone I had greatly admired. And I was so surprised. It was the most gently worded rejection. It was very kind and thoughtful. But in my first reading, I didn't see that. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. And I just boo-hooed and I cried. And at the same time, I was watching myself thinking, girl, where did this come from? Okay? So in that case, the letter was my teacher. Anything can be your teacher, anything at all. An ant can bite you and that be your teacher. How or why, don't expect to get from me. I don't know. It just works like that if you let it. Isn't it a matter of learning to swim with the stream and not against the current, at least part of it? There's a stream of divinity flowing. Well, actually, it's literal. There is a stream of divinity flowing from higher self down through the upper chakras into the crown chakra, into the heart, and thence to the rest of the aura, the body, the form, that sustains us. But it can be more than this, and the flow of it can increase a great deal. And as frequencies are rising on the earth in the solar system, they're rising in your body as well. Our DNA, our cellular structure responds to that. Remember, what's outside of us isn't what appears, my friends. What's outside of us is frequency and vibration. Some have posited that perhaps it looks like a true hologram, which kind of looks like a bunch of swirly fingerprint-looking things until the light, the laser light, is shown on it, and then you see the 3D image that's there. A lot of it is a trick of light. Motion itself is an illusion. I forget whether it's 22 or 24 frames per second that the eye can see, and the brain is what makes the motion look continuous. It's also said that things flash in and out, flash on and off very, very quickly. And so everything from the perspective of 3D brain, if we stand in 3D brain and look at what we consider reality, it's not real. to the 3D brain. It's real. And so we have that to deal with. But it's fun to be of flexible perspective and to be able to take differing perspectives. One of the ones I like best for this is Troutfish70, or Tim, up there in Canada. Pay close attention when he comments on my videos. It always has such depth and often flow of perspective. It's amazing. In this last one, he had me being a flower. And there's a real energy you can follow when he speaks. It's real. It's not fiction. And so my response to him was, okay, I was a flower. Now tell me about grass. You know, am I one blade at a time conscious, or am I group consciousness as the grass? I had a little difficulty being the grass because the perspective was so very low to the ground. At least with a flower, I was taller and I could see further. Anyway, pardon me. Let me get back to center here. So your teacher can be anything, but my suggestion right now is to find a teacher who has some videos online where you can sit back and turn them on and just listen. I would recommend Adya because he comes out with a lot of ideas, a lot of them, and you'll find your inner response to them illuminating. And you won't always agree, but there's an alchemy, hopefully, in the teacher that you've chosen, whoever it is. There's a good amount of what is said that resonates with truth. And when we can sit in the presence of truth, oh my God, there's an alchemy that can and does take place. The more powerful, the more you are open to it, the more you are empty and just watching. Now, it won't seem like you're empty when you find yourself responding strongly, like I did, you know, to the letter that I got from the admired friend. But I was empty, even in the midst of that very emotional response. I was empty and watching and wondering, where and why? What could cause such depth of emotional reaction? I like being almost 60 years old because when we're younger, we would just fire off an emotional response and be done with it, perhaps. I like being older, wiser, you know. Wisdom a lot of times is more experience than it is wisdom. But you wait. You give it time. You let the response and the reaction have its say, but you don't do any speaking at that time. Were I younger, I would have been pointing the finger and blaming and upset and saying nasty things. I would have been projecting. Being a bit more experienced, I knew that what I was dealing with was my own inner stuff. It had nothing to do with this person, nothing at all. It's just that this person had been honored to deliver the experience, the initiation. And it is an honor to deliver something, you know, like that. But anyway, so it was my own internal stuff that I was working through. And I just wish that I could convey to everyone, no matter what life hands you, it's a blessing. But that's really your choice, isn't it? An attitude of gratitude goes a long way to making life, to changing life. it can be beautiful. You can have, in effect, your heaven on earth here, if you can but open to it. Now, it's not the heaven that the mind would convey or conceive of, where everything is just so perfect and all that kind of thing, where you're in bliss 24/7. That's not anything that partakes of 3D very much, is it? But you can have a heaven on earth here that comes with the realization that everything is blessing, that you have your own inner teacher par excellence. There is nothing outside of yourself that is supreme over what's within. You are divinity walking. Enjoy it. See you again soon.